Hello and welcome to your Grow Groups this week. My name is Jessica Sachs. I am the Director of Grow Groups, and we are so excited to have you with us as we are continuing in the series, #Fail. We're looking at different characters in the Bible and how they have failed in various ways and how we can learn from that and how we can see the way that God responds and maybe how God responds to us then in our failures. So this week we're going to be talking about Elijah and exploring his story. And joining me today, I've got our Director of Counseling, Vicki Kreibel. Did I say that correct? Did I fail?
No, you said it correct.
Yes!
Success!
How are you doing today, Vicki?
I'm doing just fine. A little bit nervous, but I'm okay.
Yes, we're glad to have you. Our groups are very forgiving and kind, so they're just
That's
excited to know
awesome.
everyone.
That's wonderful.
Yes, good deal. So I've got a fun one to start with.
Okay.
So are you more likely to finish your personal projects, or do you start many and leave them unfinished?
I start many and I leave them unfinished. I'm what they call a quick start. So I love to get started on a bunch of different things, and then that's my excuse for never getting them all done because I have too much going on.
With all the other projects.
Right.
I love it. I kind of get that. I'll start different hobbies. So I'm like, ooh, I love crocheting, and I'll do a project, and then I'm like, done. Ooh, I love sewing, and I'll do a project, and done.
There you go.
Yeah, I just want to try everything.
Oh.
That's what it is.
Oh, so you don't follow through with the hobby.
Right.
You do a project and then you're done with that hobby.
Yeah.
Oh.
That was fun.
Okay.
So embroidery is next for me. I can't wait. Yes. So as we're talking about Elijah this week, as the very broad paintbrush of Elijah's story, he's this faithful servant of God. He gives everything, endures everything. And he finally reaches this point where just physically, spiritually, emotionally, he's just done. And he just caves in and gives up. So as we're thinking in that vein, how have you experienced a time when your body or mind has failed you in some way? And what was that like?
Okay. Well, I'm a little bit older than you, so I have plenty of stories of failure, both body and mind. A simple one is when we did a courageous conversation not too long ago, and my mind just went blank during the Q&A, and because somebody asked about brain chemistry, and I knew dopamine and serotonin and norepinephrine, but I kept thinking those are feel-good hormones, not. Anyway, so I just blanked. Fortunately, I kind of recovered and came up with a different angle. So that's a simple one. Another one, though, is early in life, back when I was in college, I met up with a young man, and he was really funny, and we both loved dancing. And so we got connected, and it was one of those things where I kind of said, God, I'm not sure if this is right for me or not, but I'm enjoying it, so I'm going to stick with it. And he was so the complete opposite of me, and I didn't really realize that. I thought if I loved him enough, he would change. So we married and had a kid, and then it just didn't work out. So we got divorced, and here I am, a single mom. So that just really felt horrible. And I can so totally identify with Elijah running off by himself, because you just feel so alone in those moments, like, God, I just don't know how to go on. So back in those days, that's probably about the time Brené Brown was born. She wasn't writing books yet. So it's not until 30 years later that I kind of have a way of visualizing that. And in her book, Daring Greatly, she mentions the story that Theodore Roosevelt told about the man in the arena. And it's just the idea of that some of us just totally fail. And you're the man in the arena, face down, you've totally blown it. And their audience is filled with critics. And Theodore Roosevelt says, it's not the critics that matter. It's that man who has tried. He dared greatly to be out there and at least tried. And so that story kind of has uplifted me and given me a different perspective on that early failure in life. At least I tried. So, and I think with social media nowadays, where people are posting things and then there are the comments and all that, I just want young people to know there are always people out there that are going to laugh at you when you fail. There just are. There's some people that get a thrill out of watching someone else fall. There are critics. There will always be people that really just don't care. They don't pay attention. There are also people always that are genuine, that genuinely care, that maybe have been through it themselves, and they're there to help you get back up on your feet and try again. And so that's what I get from Brene Brown's story, and that's what I get from Elijah too. Because when he runs off by himself and he finally listens to God, he keeps saying, they've killed all of your prophets and I'm the only one left. And God's response is, there are 7,000 people that have not bowed down to another God. And so the message is really, you're not alone. Mm-hmm. And that's what I want people to hear, even when we fail. And God told me that years ago, and he opened my eyes to the people that were right around me that were willing to help.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, let that preach.
Yeah, there you go.
Oh, that's amazing. Because it is, right? A lot of times we feel so isolated in our failures or in our grief or in our pain. And I get Elijah. I have been in a season of retreating from the people and just the self-destructive social isolation. And so, because just things feel like failing sometimes. Mm-hmm. And it makes you feel so alone, and we see that in Elijah. Or as like the man in the arena, just laying face down and just, you can always hear the laughs louder than the cheers.
Yes,
And
yes.
So, oh man, what a beautiful picture of but that's not the end. And
That's
even
not
if
the end.
everyone's laughing, God's not.
God's not. God's gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And sometimes isolation, a little bit of it is healthy. We need that. We
You're
need
right.
to wave. And that's that sacred moment when you're alone with God.
Right.
So
I think of some people might think it's cliche, but there's, I think, a lot of love in that Footsteps in the Sand poem that I'm sure most people have heard, the idea that someone's with Jesus and they've seen the two paths and then the footsteps become one. And they're like, why did you leave me? And God's like, that's when I was carrying
you. Absolutely.
Yeah. And I see that in Elijah. I see that in the man in the arena. And I see that in our stories.
Yes.
And I think that's so beautiful. So could you give us one practical step? How do you cope when it feels like you've given your all and still failed?
Well, like we were just saying, I do tend to withdraw and isolate. I tend to pull away from my friends for a season, for a little while. And I do think there's a portion of that that's healthy, because that is your time alone with God. That's what I do. After a little while, I'll realize I'm too alone. And so then I start reaching out. So a practical step, again, is asking God to open your eyes to who around me will listen, genuinely listen. And that's where, back that story of the divorce and recovery from that was I met somebody that led a support group in a church. And she was the one that encouraged me to go to school to become a marriage and family therapist. So that's why I do what I do today, to be with others when they're walking through that journey. So ask God to help you be open to helpers.
Yeah. Oh, that's beautiful. Thank you so much, Vicki, for sharing all of this and your story and your wisdom and all of these grains you've picked up and caring for people all these years. So thank you so much.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes. So we are praying for you and your groups this week as you continue these conversations and sharing vulnerably with one another. And just remember to reach out, to look for the helpers, and God is with you. So we'll see you next week. Take care.